The day the Vex ships darkened Earth's skies began like any other. Jack Miller, a retired military engineer living in rural Montana, was fixing his fence when the shadow fell. Looking up, he witnessed what billions around the world saw simultaneously: massive obsidian structures, kilometers long, positioning themselves over major cities. Global communications exploded with panic. Military forces worldwide scrambled jets, but the aircraft simply disintegrated when approaching the alien vessels. Within hours, the Vex deployed smaller craft that systematically targeted power plants, communication hubs, and military installations. Earth's most advanced weapons proved ineffective against their shielding technology. Professor Emma Reed, working late in her underground laboratory at MIT, felt the building shake as Boston came under attack. Unlike her terrified colleagues who fled, she stayed, frantically downloading research data on experimental electromagnetic pulse technology. As the facility's backup generators kicked in, she made a crucial discovery in the attack pattern. The alien vessels emitted unique energy signatures before weapons discharge. Halfway across the world in a bunker beneath Moscow, General Alexei Petrov watched satellite feeds of the destruction with grim determination. A veteran of multiple conflicts, he recognized an invasion strategy: disable infrastructure, create panic, break resistance. They're following military doctrine, he muttered to his staff. Different technology, same tactics. In the UN's emergency session, held via whatever secure channels remained operational, world leaders debated surrender versus resistance. The Vex had made no attempts at communication. Their intent was clear through their actions: subjugation or extermination. Tom Davis, a civilian pilot in Australia, became one of the first human resistance fighters when he loaded his crop duster with homemade explosives and flew it directly into a Vex landing party. The explosion barely damaged their equipment, but his sacrifice was live-streamed globally before networks failed. His final message: "They can be hurt. Fight back," became the first rallying cry. As major cities fell under alien control, survivors retreated to rural areas, forming the first resistance cells. They discovered that while the Vex technology was advanced, their ground troops could be ambushed. The aliens had expected submission, not guerrilla warfare. Dr. Reed, escaping from Boston with critical research data, made contact with a military convoy. "Their ships have a pattern," she explained to skeptical officers. "Their shields reconfigure before attacking. There's a 3-second vulnerability we might exploit." In the chaos of the first week of occupation, humanity's greatest strength emerged: adaptability. The Vex had studied human military capabilities, but had underestimated human resilience. They expected a centralized response they could decapitate. Instead, they faced thousands of independent resistance groups sharing information through improvised communication networks. Jack Miller, using his engineering background, discovered that modified ham radios could evade Vex detection. These became crucial for coordinating resistance efforts. As the first month of occupation ended, humanity had moved past the initial shock. Underground networks formed, sharing effective tactics. Scientists worked frantically to understand Vex technology from captured equipment. In a captured alien facility in what remained of London, researchers made a startling discovery. The Vex were not a single entity, but rather a collective of different species, unified under military rule. And more importantly, they had conquered other worlds before. Earth wasn't their first target, but humanity was proving uniquely difficult to subdue. The occupied world settled into an uneasy new reality. The Vex controlled the cities and the skies. Humans controlled the countryside, and were learning quickly. The real war was just beginning. 6 months into the occupation, humanity had learned painful lessons about their adversaries. The Vex were methodical, technologically superior, but surprisingly inflexible. They struggled to adapt to humanity's decentralized resistance. Colonel Bill Roberts, operating from a hidden base in the Appalachian Mountains, coordinated attacks across the eastern United States. His forces had captured several pieces of Vex technology, which Dr. Reed and her team of scientists were reverse engineering. Their weapons use a form of plasma containment we theorized but couldn't build, Dr. Reed explained during a strategy meeting. But their communication systems are vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies. We can jam them temporarily. The discovery led to the first major human victory. Resistance forces in 3 continents launched simultaneous raids on Vex supply depots, using jammers to disable alien communications. The coordinated attack yielded crucial resources and boosted morale worldwide. In the ruins of Berlin, Anna Weber, once a software engineer, now led a cell specializing in electronic warfare. Her team had hacked into abandoned satellites, creating a makeshift global network for the resistance. The Vex use quantum encryption, she told her operatives, but their codes follow mathematical patterns. We can predict their commands 20 seconds before execution. This intelligence advantage allowed human fighters to evacuate targets before Vex strikes. The aliens, puzzled by the humans' apparent prescience, increased the brutality of their attacks, destroying entire towns suspected of harboring resistance. The escalation backfired. Civilians who had been neutral joined the resistance in greater numbers. The Vex, accustomed to species that surrendered when faced with overwhelming force, couldn't comprehend humanity's growing determination. Jack Miller's radio network expanded, becoming the backbone of global resistance communication. Through this channel, General Petrov shared a critical discovery from the Russian front. Vex ground troops require atmospheric supplements. They're vulnerable to high altitudes and specific gas compounds. Resistance forces worldwide exploited this weakness, using the mountainous regions as bases and developing chemical weapons that targeted Vex physiology while harmless to humans. Dr. Reed's team made another breakthrough by studying captured Vex technology. Their ships use artificial gravity fields for propulsion and shielding. If we can disrupt these fields, even momentarily. The theory was tested in the Battle of Sydney Harbor. Australian resistance fighters, using modified electromagnetic pulse generators, managed to bring down a small Vex patrol ship. The captured vessel provided invaluable technological insights. Meanwhile, human society adapted to the new reality. Underground schools taught both traditional knowledge and resistance tactics. Farmers developed methods to hide food production from Vex surveillance. Medics created treatments for new injuries caused by alien weapons. In occupied cities, humans forced to work for the Vex practiced passive resistance, deliberately misinterpreting orders and sabotaging operations when possible. The aliens, unable to distinguish between human incompetence and deliberate sabotage, grew increasingly frustrated. By the end of the first year, the situation had evolved into a stalemate. The Vex controlled major infrastructure but couldn't eliminate the resistance. Humans couldn't directly challenge Vex technological superiority, but were making their occupation increasingly costly. In a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, military and scientific leaders from around the world gathered for the first Global Resistance Summit. The conclusion was unanimous. Humanity needed to move from defensive resistance to strategic offense. It was time to target the Vex command structure and their orbital fleet. As plans were formulated, satellites detected new Vex ships entering the solar system. Reinforcements were coming. The resistance would need to act quickly. The arrival of Vex reinforcements changed the resistance's timeline. Operation Thunderstrike, originally planned for months later, was accelerated. Based on Dr. Reed's research, resistance forces worldwide prepared to target the Vex communication network simultaneously. Their hierarchy is their weakness, Dr. Reed explained to resistance leaders. Cut off the commanders from their troops, and their entire operation falls into chaos. The operation began with Anna Weber's cyber team infiltrating the Vex network through captured terminals. They planted dormant viruses throughout the system, designed to activate simultaneously and create false commands. Jack Miller's radio operators coordinated the global timing of the attack. At precisely 300 GMT, Resistance fighters across 6 continents activated the newly developed EMP weapons against Vex communication nodes. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Vex forces, suddenly receiving contradictory orders or no orders at all, fell into disarray. Ground troops retreated to defensive positions, while others attacked their own units, believing them to be human infiltrators. Colonel Roberts led the American front, targeting the largest Vex base in North America. "Remember Sydney Harbor," he told his fighters. "Aim for their gravity generators. 3-second window when they reconfigure." The battle was brutal. Despite the communication disruption, Vex technology remained superior. Human casualties were severe, but for the first time, they inflicted significant damage on major Vex installations. In the skies above Earth, the Vex fleet experienced unexpected failures. Ships lost coordination, colliding with each other or firing on friendly vessels. The newly arrived reinforcements, unable to receive proper landing instructions, remained in high orbit, effectively neutralized from the battle. General Petrov's forces in Eastern Europe seized the opportunity to capture a Vex command center mostly intact. Inside, they discovered something unexpected. The Vex leadership was in turmoil. Intercepted communications revealed dispute among the alien commanders about the handling of the human problem. "They're arguing about us," Petrov reported to the Global Resistance Council. "Some want to withdraw, claiming Earth isn't worth the resources. Others demand complete planetary sterilization." This intelligence accelerated humanity's next phase. Dr. Reed and her team, working with captured Vex technology, finalized designs for weapons that could penetrate alien shields. "We're adapting their own technology against them," she announced. "These weapons bypass their defenses by matching shield frequencies." Production began immediately in hidden factories worldwide. Tom Wright, formerly an automotive engineer, now oversaw the largest weapons manufacturing operation in what remained of Detroit. "We're building tomorrow's weapons with yesterday's tools," he told new recruits. But they work. As new weapons reached resistance fighters, the tide began to turn. Vex ground forces, already disorganized by communication disruptions, faced weapons that could effectively harm them. They retreated to fortified positions, abandoning their methodical occupation strategy. The most significant development came from Anna Weber's continued cyber operations. Her team decrypted Vex navigational data, revealing the location of their primary command ship, a massive vessel hidden on the far side of the moon. "That's their brain," Colonel Roberts said during the emergency council meeting. "Cut off the head, and the body dies." But reaching the moon with their current technology seemed impossible. Then Jack Miller, the retired engineer who had started the Resistance radio network, proposed a daring plan. "We don't need to build spaceships. They already gave us some." He referred to the captured Vex vessels. Though damaged, Dr. Reed believed they could be repaired and operated by humans. "Their controls respond to specific thought patterns," she explained. "We've developed interfaces that can translate human brain activity into compatible commands." As preparations for the lunar mission began, humanity experienced something it had lost since the invasion: hope. For the first time, they weren't just surviving. They were fighting back with a real chance of victory. The Vex, sensing this shift, changed tactics. They abandoned precision strikes for widespread bombardment from orbit. Cities already under their control were destroyed to deny resources to the resistance. The escalation only hardened human resolve. The mission to the moon became not just strategic but symbolic, proof that humanity would not be exterminated on its own world. The plan to attack the Vex command ship was codenamed Operation Moonshot, a name that reflected both its target and its desperate nature. The mission would utilize 3 captured and modified Vex shuttles, each carrying a strike team and equipped with Dr. Reed's experimental weapons. Training for the operation took place in a repurposed mine shaft in South Africa, one of the few places deep enough to escape Vex detection. The chosen pilots, 12 men and women from different nations, underwent intensive neural interface training to control the alien craft. Lisa Jones, a former commercial pilot, emerged as the lead. "The neural interface feels like dreaming while awake," she explained to the others. "You don't control the ship with your hands. You become the ship." Meanwhile, Anna Weber's cyber team continued their campaign against Vex Communications, feeding false information about resistance movements to keep alien forces dispersed and distracted. Colonel Roberts personally selected the combat teams, 36 soldiers with diverse skills. "We need fighters, technicians, and scientists," he insisted. "Once we're on that command ship, we'll face challenges we can't anticipate." 2 weeks before launch, disaster struck. A Vex patrol discovered the South African training facility. The ensuing battle left half the trained pilots dead and 2 of the captured shuttles damaged. Operation Moonshot seemed doomed. Jack Miller proposed an alternative. "We have one functioning shuttle. We send a smaller team, enough to plant Dr. Reed's new device." The device in question was the culmination of all their reverse engineering efforts, a quantum virus designed to infiltrate and corrupt the Vex command systems. In theory, it would turn their technology against them, creating a cascade of failures throughout their fleet. Dr. Reed was skeptical. "The virus needs to be manually inserted into their central processor. We designed it for a larger team with more time." "Then I'll go," she added after a pause. "I know the technology better than anyone." The final team consisted of 6. Lisa Jones as pilot, Dr. Reed as technical lead, Colonel Roberts commanding, and 3 Special Forces operatives, Miguel Diaz, James Wilson, and Kate Moore. Each was chosen for specific skills, and more importantly, their ability to improvise. The launch took place during a massive resistance offensive designed to draw Vex attention away from the shuttle. Ground forces attacked alien installations worldwide, while Anna Weber's team flooded Vex communications with false alerts about human activities in various locations. Lisa Jones piloted the shuttle out of Earth's atmosphere using the neural interface. Her mind merged with the alien technology. The sensation was disorienting but effective. The shuttle accelerated at speeds no human craft could achieve, reaching lunar orbit in hours rather than days. The far side of the moon revealed the true scale of the Vex presence, a massive command ship surrounded by smaller vessels, with structures built into the lunar surface. It was an entire operational base, hidden from Earth's view. "That flagship is 3 times larger than we estimated," Colonel Roberts observed grimly. "New plan. We land on one of the smaller vessels and transfer to the command ship through their docking tubes." Lisa navigated carefully, using the stolen Vex identification codes to avoid raising alarms. They successfully docked with a supply ship, then used the maintenance corridors to board the massive flagship. Inside, they encountered an unexpected situation. The Vex command ship was in obvious disorder. Alien crew members moved hurriedly through corridors, ignoring the human infiltrators either due to the effectiveness of their stolen uniforms or simple distraction. "Their chain of command is already fracturing," Colonel Roberts whispered as they made their way toward the central control room. "Our disruption tactics on Earth are having more effect than we realized." When they reached the command center, they understood why. The Vex leadership was engaged in what appeared to be an internal conflict. Different factions were arguing, some physically fighting. The human team, hidden in a maintenance alcove, watched in astonishment. "They're divided on how to proceed," Dr. Reed translated from her understanding of Vex communication patterns. "Some want to abandon Earth as too costly. Others insist on complete victory regardless of losses." The division gave the human team their opportunity. While the Vex commanders were distracted by their own conflict, the team infiltrated the processing core. Dr. Reed began the complex process of uploading the quantum virus. Lisa Jones piloted the stolen shuttle away from the moon at maximum speed, pursued by several Vex interceptors that had not yet been affected by the quantum virus. The neural interface translated her panic into evasive maneuvers beyond human reflexes, keeping her alive as energy weapons scorched the space around her. "Come on, work faster," she muttered, knowing the virus needed time to propagate through the Vex network. According to Dr. Reed's calculations, the effect would spread from the command ship to all connected vessels, creating a cascading system failure. Behind her, the massive command ship began to show signs of the virus's effect. Its external lights flickered in patterns, and its movement became erratic. Two pursuing interceptors suddenly veered off course, colliding with each other in spectacular silence. The quantum virus was working, not by destroying the Vex technology, but by corrupting its operating parameters. Ships received contradictory navigation commands. Weapons systems targeted friendly vessels. Life support systems cycled randomly between different atmospheric compositions, incapacitating the Vex crews. As Lisa approached Earth, she witnessed the virus's spread. Vex ships in Earth orbit began behaving erratically. Some fired upon each other. Others plummeted toward the atmosphere, their gravity controls malfunctioning. The larger vessels attempted to maintain position, but struggled with intermittent power failures. Using Jack Miller's radio network, Lisa broadcast her return and the mission's apparent success. The virus is deployed. Colonel Roberts and the team didn't make it back, but they completed the mission. The Vex command structure is collapsing. On Earth, resistance forces seized the opportunity. Using Dr. Reed's weapons designs, they launched coordinated attacks against disoriented Vex ground forces. Without clear commands or functioning support systems, the aliens were suddenly vulnerable. General Petrov led the Russian contingent in reclaiming Moscow. "They're confused," he reported. "Their weapons malfunction. Their communication devices emit painful sounds that incapacitate them. They're retreating whenever engaged." Similar reports came from around the globe. The Vex occupation was crumbling faster than anyone had anticipated. In some regions, alien forces attempted to surrender, a concept that seemed foreign to their previous behavior. Anna Weber's cyber team monitored the situation through hacked Vex networks. "The virus isn't just affecting their technology," she explained to resistance leaders. "It's corrupting their neural implants." The Vex use direct brain interfaces more extensively than we realized. They're experiencing what amounts to mass psychosis. Tom Wright, overseeing the manufacturing of anti-Vex weapons, redirected resources toward capturing rather than destroying alien technology. "We don't just want them gone," he insisted. "We need to understand them to prevent this from happening again." 3 days after Operation Moonshot, the first Vex ships began leaving Earth orbit. The massive vessels, many still experiencing system malfunctions, struggled to achieve escape velocity. Several crashed into the ocean or remote areas, providing even more technology for recovery. Lisa Jones, debriefed at the Rocky Mountain headquarters, provided crucial information about the Vex command base on the Moon. "There's more there than just military installations," she reported. "They were building something. Structures that looked like permanent colonies." This revelation changed humanity's understanding of the invasion. The Vex hadn't come just to conquer or exterminate. They had intended to stay, to make Earth their new home. Jack Miller, whose radio network had become the backbone of global communication, posed the question that was on everyone's mind. Are they leaving because they're defeated, or are they regrouping? Dr. Reed's colleagues, analyzing the quantum virus's effects, couldn't provide certainty. "The virus will continue corrupting their systems for months, possibly years," one scientist explained. "But advanced civilizations develop countermeasures. We should assume they'll eventually neutralize it." This sobering assessment led to a new phase in humanity's response. Rather than simply celebrating victory, leaders worldwide initiated Project Phoenix, a comprehensive plan to rebuild human civilization while incorporating the technological advances gained from Vex technology. Global cooperation, born of necessity during the resistance, continued. Nations that had been enemies before the invasion now worked together, sharing resources and knowledge. The common thread had forged unprecedented unity. In what remained of the United Nations building in Geneva, representatives from surviving governments signed the Earth Defense Accord. establishing a unified planetary defense force and research directive. The approaching objects were initially thought to be Vex reinforcements, prompting widespread alarm. Humanity, still recovering from the occupation, faced the prospect of a renewed invasion with dread. But as the objects came closer, Anna Weber's team made a startling discovery while analyzing their communication signatures. "These aren't Vex ships," she announced to the Emergency Defense Council. "The transmission patterns are completely different. Either it's another species entirely, or what?" General Petrov demanded. "Or the Vex aren't the only intelligent species in their society," she concluded. The theory proved correct. The approaching fleet established communication using basic mathematical sequences, the universal language of science. Their message, once decoded, was unexpected. "We seek alliance against common enemy. Vex oppression spans galaxies. Your resistance succeeds where others failed." They called themselves the Mira, a species whose home world had been conquered by the Vex centuries ago. They had maintained a hidden resistance movement and had been monitoring Vex communications throughout the galaxy. Earth's successful deployment of the quantum virus had alerted them to a potential ally. Tom Wright, now serving as humanity's chief of technological development, was skeptical. "How do we know this isn't a Vex trick? A different approach after their direct invasion failed?" Lisa Jones, who had piloted the shuttle to the moon and witnessed the internal Vex conflict, offered her perspective. The Vex weren't unified. What if these Mira represent one of the factions that wanted to withdraw from Earth? After extensive debate, Earth's leaders agreed to a cautious first contact. The meeting took place on the International Space Station, which had been reclaimed and repaired after the Vex retreat. The Mira representatives, tall, slender beings with iridescent skin, brought gifts of knowledge. Detailed maps of Vex-controlled space and specifications for advanced defensive technology. "We have fought from the shadows for generations," the Mira ambassador explained. "Your quantum virus provided the first significant victory against the Vex dominion in centuries. Their central coordination is disrupted across 17 star systems." This revelation expanded humanity's understanding of the conflict. Earth hadn't just repelled a single invasion force. They had struck a blow against an interstellar empire. The Mira offered an alliance based on mutual defense and technological exchange. They possessed advanced propulsion and energy generation technology, but lacked Earth's innovative approach to warfare and computing. The quantum virus, in particular, represented an approach the Mira had never considered. "Your species thinks differently," the ambassador observed. "The Vex expect logical, predictable responses to overwhelming force. Your guerrilla tactics and willingness to sacrifice confuse their strategic models." Jack Miller, listening to the translated conversation, grunted in agreement. "We've been fighting against superior forces throughout our history. It's practically a human tradition." Dr. Reed, analyzing the technological specifications shared by the Mira, recognized their authenticity. "This is definitely not Vex technology. The engineering philosophy is completely different, more organic, less rigid." With cautious optimism, Earth's leaders formalized the alliance. The immediate priority was establishing a defensive perimeter around the solar system, using a combination of human innovation and Mira technology. Project Phoenix expanded to include reverse engineering Vex ships for potential counter-offensive capabilities. The Mira provided crucial insights into Vex physiology and psychology, enabling more effective weapons development. Meanwhile, the retreating Vex forces regrouped at the edge of the solar system. Long-range observations indicated they were attempting to cleanse their systems of the quantum virus, with limited success. According to Mira intelligence, the Vex Central Command had designated Earth a Class 5 hazardous environment, their designation for planets requiring special conquest protocols. "They're afraid of us now," Colonel Davis, who had assumed Robert's position after his sacrifice, told his troops during briefing. They've never encountered a species that successfully reversed their technology against them. This assessment proved accurate when several Vex scout ships approached Earth's orbit 3 months later. Rather than engaging, they maintained distance, observing the new defensive installations being constructed. When Earth forces moved to intercept, the scouts immediately retreated. 5 years after the initial Vex invasion, Earth had transformed beyond recognition. Cities were rebuilt incorporating both recovered alien technology and human ingenuity. The global cooperation forged in resistance continued, creating unprecedented prosperity and technological advancement. The joint Earth-Mira fleet orbiting Mars represented the culmination of this progress. 12 massive warships combining the best of 3 different technological traditions: human adaptability and innovation, Mira organic engineering principles, and reverse-engineered Vex propulsion systems created vessels unlike anything seen before in the galaxy. Admiral Lisa Jones, commanding the flagship Phoenix, addressed the assembled crew before departure. Today we venture beyond our solar system, not just as explorers, but as defenders. What we do isn't just for Earth, but for all sentient beings suffering under Vex dominion. Jack Miller, now 83 years old but still active in the resistance-turned government, watched the launch from mission control in what had once been Noid. "Never thought I'd live to see humans heading to the stars," he remarked to Dr. Reed, who now headed Earth's Scientific Advancement Division. "We're going as warriors first," she replied soberly. "I hope someday we'll go primarily as explorers." The fleet's mission had 3 objectives: liberate the Proxima Centauri system, establish contact with subjugated species there, and secure a forward base for further operations against the Vex Dominion. Using Mira-fold space technology, a method of creating temporary wormholes, the journey to Proxima Centauri took 3 weeks rather than the decades it would have required with conventional propulsion. The technology was limited and energy-intensive, explaining why the Vex had never used it for their invasion of Earth. Their empire relied on conventional faster-than-light travel for large-scale operations. When the fleet emerged in the Proxima system, they found a situation worse than intelligence had suggested. The planet, once home to a species the Mira called the Trell, had been transformed into a massive resource extraction facility. The native population worked as slaves in vast mining operations that scared the planet's surface. "The Vex presence is minimal," Colonel Davis reported after initial scans. "They're using automated systems and the native population as labor. We count only 3 Vex control ships in orbit." The battle for Proxima Centauri was brief but intense. The Vex, still reeling from the effects of the quantum virus throughout their network, were unprepared for an attack in what they considered secure territory. Their 3 orbital platforms were disabled using targeted EMP weapons developed from Dr. Reed's original designs. Ground forces led by Colonel Davis secured the main control centers within hours. The native Trell, recognizing the humans and Mira as liberators, joined the fight, overwhelming their Vex overseers through sheer numbers. Within 2 days, the system was secured. The liberated Trell, a reptilian species with advanced metallurgical knowledge, greeted their rescuers with ceremonies of gratitude that moved even the most hardened human soldiers. They'd been under Vex control for 12 generations, the Mira cultural liaison explained. They had legends about someday being free, but many had stopped believing. The significance of the victory extended far beyond a single planet. Admiral Jones authorized the use of captured Vex communication arrays to broadcast news of the liberation across nearby systems. The message was simple: the Vex can be defeated. Earth and Mira stand with all free peoples. The response was immediate and unexpected. Within weeks, uprisings erupted on 3 other Vex-controlled worlds. The quantum virus, still propagating through their networks, prevented the Vex from coordinating an effective response to multiple simultaneous rebellions. As reports of these uprisings reached Earth, General Petrov addressed the United Earth Council. "What began as our fight for survival has become something larger, a galactic liberation movement. We have a responsibility to these other species." The Council voted unanimously to expand the mission. Earth would commit resources to supporting resistance movements throughout Vex territory, providing technology, tactical knowledge, and, when possible, direct military support. This decision established humanity's role in the wider galaxy. Earth became known not just for repelling the Vex, but for actively working to free others from their control. Human adaptability and innovative thinking proved valuable beyond their military applications. Dr. Reed's team developed methods to remove Vex control systems from conquered worlds, restoring environments damaged by centuries of exploitation.